so much, Mr. Howard Richards. It's really a pleasure here to connect with you. So in this podcast, we talk about people. We are actually concentrating on the people, then of course also what the people do. So I want to thank you so much, and I want you to do a little presentation of yourself to the people who are probably see you for the first time. What would you like to say about yourself?
Yeah, thank you first of all for having me on board. I appreciate that. So my name's Howard Richards. I am a youth worker, senior youth worker in the Coventry area, originally from Birmingham. And my journey has stemmed from being a young carer and looking after my mother from a young age, to performing as a musician and using my talents to encourage younger people with changing the narratives in everyday life.
Changing the narrative. Anyway, we really do have enough time to talk about all this one today. So you were born in Birmingham, right?
Most definitely, Birmingham.
Okay, so tell us about that. I've never been to UK, though I've talked to a lot of people in the UK. So tell us about that, the place. Give us some feel of the place where you were born.
Birmingham is it's an interesting place. It's not as big as sort of London, but it's a place which is, it's multicultural. There's, different religions, different faiths, different beliefs. It's a place of love, I should say. People are always sort of willing to ask if you're okay. I've never had any issues. However, it is quite a difficult place to be if you are a young person growing up in around the city, I would say. But almost other than that, it's a really nice place to live.
That's interesting. That almost make me want to visit now. All right, Richard. So when you were growing up, tell me a little bit about your trajectory. What were you like aiming that you wanted to be? Because like I said before, we are really here to learn about you and also your passion.
A bit like most kids, I had this dream of being a firefighter or, a policeman saving people from burning buildings. Well, that didn't happen. I fell into not quite knowing what I wanted to be at 13. I went to university. I studied being a paramedic and thought, this isn't for me. What's my purpose? What am I good at? And with that, I was able to meet and mentor while I was doing work experience, who showed me the ethics of not only being a young carer, but for being a man. And he identified my talents, which was people and music. And that put me on my right way, I should say.
Now I will try to pay attention to what is said about purpose. That becomes really very interesting because I think that also reflects what you do today because you are working with the youth. That is anyway. Let me suspend that for now. We'll come to that later. So this idea of purpose, what did you start to explore it? Like, some people, they find it very easy to just go the easy way. You don't need to, because if you want to find a purpose, you need to have to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
So when did it become important for you to do this?
I would say when my mom had a stroke, I was in a position where I didn't know what I wanted to do at college. My mom had a stroke and it was like, right, I actually need to grow up now. I need to be a man. And with that, it was a case of, okay, what am I good at? And I'm a religious person, so I always say, God, can you identify to me where I need to be or what I should be doing? And it was a case of me having to revisit my education, so going back to college and doing a course that I thought was okay, which was more medical side of things. There was a lot of, trials and tribulations throughout, but it was all stepping stone to get me to where I am now.
And when at that moment, okay, again, sorry for the stroke that your mother had. Those are some of the challenges of life. At that time, that it was challenging for you, I want to believe.
Yeah.
What helped you to sort of find your footing in defining what you eventually call your identity, your journey, your work, what you are going to do as a contribution both to your family and also to the society? So I'm trying to understand what helped you.
I would say it was, weirdly enough, it was my mum's heart that did it. And the reason I say that is my mum was, to me, was my superhero. She's still here today. She's still here today. She's my superhero. And I hit a stage whereby I kind of seemed like whatever situation she was facing, I noticed that she would always overcome it. She had a triple bypass. She had strokes, clot on the brain. She lost her walking and her ability to speak. So I feel like my strength had almost come from her. And that allowed me to kind of try and sense purpose for myself. I thought, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And it took a lot of reading, a lot of time alone, and importantly, a lot of forgiveness for myself, because I was in a position where I thought I had let myself down with not finishing university. So I would say that was the main reason.
All right, thank you for that. So I also want to believe that those things that you were reading sort of also help you to fine tune your journey, because I understand that when you decide that this is the road I want to go,
Yeah,
you don't know what the road is yet, but you say this is where I want to go. You are going to have to find out about it as you journey along it, no? So in that case, it becomes necessary that we need to find out from other people who have been there before, who have journeyed the same road before. And so it becomes important now to talk to mentors, to read books, to go to the classes, to learn, because this time you are not just on the loop that the society usually will set for you, no? When maybe in the regular lifestyle, you are a child, you need to go to the regular school. Then from that regular school, you need to be promoted to the regular program again until you finish your university.
yeah.
This one is a different thing because you have decided what you want to do. So you are going to train yourself to become expert in that area. So you started to read and all that. So can you help me? What were you reading? What were those things that you were reading after you decided where you want to go?
I actually read a book by a lady called Joyce Myers, and this book was called The Battlefield of the Mind. And this book absolutely changed my
That's
thought.
powerful.
Yeah. It gave you everyday tools to fight with thoughts of self-hate, self-doubt, pushing forward, and creates tools to get the job done, essentially. Fitness was a major aspect as well. I've always been into boxing and sport, so that also helps as well. I think we often, we look after our outside shell, but in terms of vitamins for our mental health, reading and my faith, most importantly, is what sort of saw me through.